This is Rob Tebbutt for Boxing Social in association with Pursue Fitness. I'm here in Sheffield today with unbeaten super flyweight come flyweight contender Sonny Edwards. How you doing, Sonny?
Yeah, I'm all good. Thanks for making the trip down.
It's a trip up, but you're very welcome. How's things?
Yeah, we're all good. You know what I mean? I'm coming up to halfway through camp now. Sparring's going well. My fitness is in a good place. My weight's in as good as a place that has been in my pro career. Obviously, I'm going down to flyweight now, so I've got to be a bit more strict. But it's something that I'm relishing. You know what I mean? It's never been hard for me to make super flyweight. I've never made no secret of that. Even when I had big fights, the Ryan Farry fight, I've always said, you know, I'm really a flyweight. I'm not super flyweight. I was fighting at super flyweight, you know, for the opportunities, mainly British opportunities. After the Farag, I thought I'd get loads of them. Haven't got any, and not for want of trying. So we're looking at world titles now, and we're looking at planning the route to the world title in the next 5 fights. The way my contract's set up, it should be within the next 5 fights, maybe earlier, but in the next 12 months, 18 max if I have a little time out. So yeah, going down to flyweight now because I'm not ready to mix with the super flyweight big boys. They're all great fighters, and obviously so are the flyweights, but I think the gap between me and the flyweight world champs is smaller than the super flyweight ones.
You just mentioned it there, and I know it's something that you have alluded to previously in your career, kind of dropping down in weight or being able to have the capability of dropping down in weight. Is it too early in camp for you for that to kind of have any effect on your preparation? Are you starting to think about weight earlier than you would conventionally?
Maybe. I'm just trying to be a bit more disciplined. At super flyweight, I could get away with a hell of a lot. I would try not to, but do you know what I mean? I'm only human. I need motivation. So for my bigger fights, I was more spot on. The fights that I perhaps took it not lightly, but like a little bit easier. I was cutting a bit more corners. At flyweight, especially the first time, I'm not trying to do that. So yeah, weight is never really an issue with me. I was a light flyweight as an amateur, 49 kilos. So even this is still not that much of a stretch for me to get to. But yeah, just trying to be a bit more disciplined, a bit more professional, and hopefully that translates into the performance in the ring. I'll probably never be one of these fighters absolutely shredded to death. But I've never got in the ring unfit. I'm always flying in the last round, flying in the first round, and yeah, I'm relishing the challenge of but then again, the opponent I'm fighting is pretty much similar to me. He's fought at flyweight, he's fought at super flyweight. I've never fought properly at flyweight, but I fought like half a pound over flyweight when I beat Ross Murray. My first couple of fights were like 51 kilos, 51 and a half. So I've been there or thereabouts. Like I said, it's just all my opportunities so far have come at super flyweight. I'm now in a position ranked number 5 with WBO, 13th with IBF at super flyweight, and my intentions are to pick up WBO, and I've got the IBF obviously coming up, but to pick up them titles again and instill my ranking down and then push on from there. I'm obviously leaving it to my promoter and my management to sort of path out my route to the titles, but I'm in a very good place. I'm only 23. I'm one of the youngest up there in the rankings. 12-0, 13-0 by the 14th of September. And just looking at pushing on. I'm not delaying my career any further because I don't need to. I only realised the other day, I put a post out on Instagram, 12 months ago, so 11 months ago, I hadn't boxed live on TV. I was, I think, 8-0 going into Farag. I think 7-0 or 8-0. I hadn't boxed live on TV. And then, since then, in that 12 months, this is going to be, in the 12-month period, my 5th fight live on TV, my 2nd headline. I've chief supported twice, and then I was on a big build at the Bar Gorman in my last fight at the O2. So, really, how many flyweights, super flyweights are getting that level of exposure? And on BT as well, I'm in a great place. I don't need any of these British fighters. I want them because me as a boxing fan, I get more excited for the domestic. I thought you should clear up domestically, then push on to world. I don't want to keep fighting these Mexicans that no one's heard of. I don't, but my contract, I'm going to be fighting every 8 to 10 weeks. You know what I mean, when I'm in camp and that. So these are the only fights I can get. There's no point trying to bully these people in the ring because they don't want it. Do you know what I mean? So, like I said, I'm not delaying my career any further, and maybe later on in my career I'll be able to fight more domestically, when fighting me is relatively very good pay for these fighters, but it's clearly not as much as they think they should get to fight me, if that makes sense. So maybe when my stock keeps rising, I keep getting the exposure, building my profile, winning, titles, hopefully world titles, then these big domestic fights will come.
Talk about world titles and world champions. Just picking up on something that you mentioned at the start of the interview with regards to the super flyweight champions compared to the flyweight champions. Obviously, super fly in the last probably 3 years-ish has got more and more attention. Now got Estrada, who holds a title up there, Anka Haas holds a title up there. Last time we spoke to you, we had Ioka, who just pick up a title against Pilikte. Compare those to the not the WBC, the flyweight champions. Obviously, we've got Maruti, who holds the IBF, Dalekane, and then you've got Kosei Tanaka, and then somebody else holds the WBC.
IBF Maruti.
Maruti's got the IBF. What's the difference between the levels, or what can you tell people who maybe aren't as familiar with the flyweight champions as they probably are with the super flyweight champions?
Obviously, to be a world champion anyway is you're getting the best in the world. Do you know what I mean? That's literally what it's there for. I just feel like the size of, even though it's only what, 1.5 kilos, 3 pounds, that size when you don't struggle to make super fly at all, you don't even struggle to make flyweight, is massive. Do you know what I mean? These fighters, I remember when Charlie boxed Casemiro, I've sparred someone that has been in camp with Casemiro and saying that he comes down from near 70 kilos to make flyweight. From beginning of camp training the whole way through sweatsuits, like taking out so much. So then when he gets in, obviously you don't know what they do when they're in the hotel rooms to rehydrate, but do you know what I mean? Because over a lot of countries it's legal, IV drips and whatnot. But they're coming down from big and being strong at that weight as well. So the flyweight probably levels it out a little bit more for size-wise. Do you know what I mean? I've been in the ring with 2 of the current world champions. Obviously one being my brother, and the other me being a paid sparring partner twice for Dalekane. And that was over a year ago now, and I genuinely don't believe I was out my depth. I gave him very good rounds, frustrated him a hell of a lot, as you can probably imagine. And I just feel like I can mix it. At the same time, I've been in the ring with Ryan Burnett, for one of his training camps, and I feel like, obviously, back then I was a bit off the mark compared to like a world champion over 12 rounds. Which I was only doing like 3 or 4 rounds of him. I'm sharp flying, he's doing more rounds, so it levels it a bit. But I'm getting to the stage where I'm really confident in getting in with anyone and causing them problems. I'm not for a second saying I'd beat everyone in the world, but I want to test myself. I want to pursue a good career, and you're only going to do that by facing the best, by sort of putting your neck on the line. If it pays off, it pays off. If it doesn't, I'm going to keep fighting because I love the sport that much. So, yeah, I might suffer a loss here and there, but my career is going to be one of good fights, big fights, and hopefully, me and my brother set the sort of flyweight, super fly, and the lighter weights alike. So,
by that standard, have you kind of disregarded now domestic fights for the time being until it comes a point where you do have, for example, a world title to potentially tempt people? Are you kind of bypassing British title level now? Are you putting that in the rear view?
Not at all, not in the slightest. If a fight gets offered to me at flyweight or super flyweight still, even though I'm going down to flyweight, there's whispers of people at Marcel Braithwaite sort of constantly tweeting me, wanting to fight me, which is fine, but when they was offered to fight in June, they turned it down. So then why wait until I've got a fight date and then, now I want to fight you? He's fighting for the English. So maybe if he wins the English, which I don't think he will, because I think he shouldn't have beat Craig Derbyshire when he beat him over 4 rounds. So I think that Craig Derbyshire will do him over 10. But the British board wouldn't pass Craig Derbyshire to fight me, which I understand why. He is a journeyman that's won English title a couple of times, but there's no one else that wants to fight. Who else is more qualified? Do you know what I mean? And I always thought the English title was pretty much an eliminator for the British. I thought that's how it worked out, but clearly not. I'm the only mandatory for the British for the time being at super flyweight. I believe I've been put in for the flyweight one. Obviously that's in the air at the moment with Selby and Jay Harris. But I know my worth. I know what I'm getting paid to fight Gallardo. I know what I'm getting paid to fight Matos. I know what I'm getting paid. So if you're going to put like a Selby in with me or Jay Harris, then you've got to pay me for that. Do you know what I mean? Because really, at the moment, Andrew Selby's a phenomenal fighter, a top level fighter, and someone I really respect and look up to. But profile-wise, look, I'm getting exposure that he's not. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, you got to pay me for that, right? Do you know what I mean?
What do you make of that fight, Jay Harris versus Andrew Selby? I think it's probably fair to say that neither of them have quite the profile, certainly in Andrew Selby's case, that his talent potentially deserves. What do you make of that fight? Obviously, the last time we saw Andrew Selby in the ring was against Charlie's future opponent. Didn't end particularly well for him that night. What do you make of that fight?
That's a great fight, a fight that I would be very surprised if it happened. Obviously, I've heard some things. The fight was meant to be on the 21st September, you know, that Billy Joe Saunders card. Obviously, we all know Billy Joe's gone elsewhere, and the show's sort of been split up into my show, which is the 14th, and the Dubois show, which is the 27th. So that's him, leave that one in the air. I know contracts weren't signed, or no one was sort of in a rush for that fight, so I think, even though the purse bid's got won and everything by Frank Warren, I just don't think no one was in a rush to make that fight for the amount of money and etc. You know what I mean? Andrew Selby's a world level fighter, I believe, and I think a lot of people believe so. He's just got to be switched on. I think his trainer, his new trainer, ex-GB boxer Danny Chapman, is doing that. You know, he seems very disciplined. He's been on him. He's giving him sort of the attention that he clearly needs and craves, as well as the sort of support, because he's getting sort of pushed social media and stuff like that, which he never really has before. And now he's got MTK behind him, which is a great team. Same as Jay, same as me. You know what I mean, we're all the same team. And I think what MTK will do is probably make sense, is build the fighters and then put them together, rather than just sort of chucking them together and sort of the winner pushes on and the loser falling off. Because domestically, it's a great scene for flyweight, super flyweight at the moment. If you just think me, Charlie, Carl, Youssef, whoever you just see me spar in the gym, and you've got Jay Harris and Andrew Selby, you've got Cal Yafai. You know what I mean? There's so many names in the mix. Something's got to give, and people have got to start fighting each other though. Otherwise, like, what's the point? Do you know what I mean? And it's alright, everyone trying to wait for world level to fight each other, but how many times are people waiting for world level and then someone loses and it just falls apart and then we never see these good fights? Look at Dubois Gorman. Gorman, obviously, he lost quite bad. Do you know what I mean? For me, he lost every round and got stopped fairly early on. But at the same time, I don't think anyone's turning around sort of slagging Gorman for taking that fight and losing the way he did, because Dubois has shown that he's a very good level fighter, and the hype's real about him. And Gorman will come again, and Gorman will get in the ring and give so many heavyweights, internationally, domestically, absolute nightmares. And I think that can happen at every weight. People have just got to put their neck on the line a little bit. But at the same time, promoters, managers, they have to pay for that risk. Do you know what I mean? So it's balancing everything. It's balancing everything. Like when I fought Farag, I fought him for peanuts compared to what I'm earning now, and for the level of fighters I'm fighting. But I did that to get to where I am now. Sometimes you've got to take that risk and back yourself. And then look at the difference in careers now. I've gone on, fought him last October. This is going to be my 5th fight live on TV. I'm like sort of like a TV name now, where if you see my name on a poster, it's a TV slot. And he's waited a whole year and then had a 6th rounder in Spain. So yeah, there is drawbacks to go out and put your neck on the line. But if you believe in yourself, you've got to take them risks.
You just mentioned Billy Joe Saunders. Obviously, he's now signed with Matchroom, having left Frank after a very long and successful stint together. How does that, if at all, change your standing within Frank Warren? Does that kind of push you up the ladder, as it were? You're not really thinking about that. Does that affect kind of you and the stable?
I feel like it's, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but I think it's kind of a good thing for London Frank Warren fighters. I believe, I don't know the ins and outs, Billy Joe's a very, very good fighter and a very avoided fighter. He also demands a certain level of money to fight. That budget's got to come from somewhere. And when no one wants to fight him, but he still needs to fight contractually, they was getting in opponents and probably paying him way over the odds for these level of opponents and the level of the show, but just because they had to. They're trying to nail these big fighters. None of these big fighters wanted to get in bed with him at any time soon. And shows would fall through, and there was like problems, and I guess it just frees up a little a BT budget for the other fighters. I mean, look, I don't know the ins and outs. I've not tried to find the ins and outs, but the 21st September, the show that was meant to be happening, hasn't, and now we've got 2 good cards obviously one small hall show, my card, on the 14th, and then the Royal Albert Hall with Dan Dubois, which I can imagine will be a good card as well. And that's double the opportunities for people to fight. You know what I mean? I don't know if it's any relation. Maybe it's just coincidence. I don't know, but I don't think it's going to suffer too much. But Billy Joe's a fantastic fighter, one of the best in the world, pound for pound. He's just so technically gifted. He just needs to have the fights to cement it. It's all right having all the talent in the world, but if you don't secure these big fights, and I think that's what Uncle Frank knew. He knew that he was trying his best, because obviously he knows better than anyone the deals he's trying to make and what he's trying, how, do you know what I mean, how he's trying to work things. And if these fights are just not happening, then eventually Billy Joe's only got one career, and there is much loyalty, and I think he did have a lot of loyalty to Frank, and they did have a really good relationship. But I think as much as Billy Joe knew, I think Frank probably knew that in order for him to really get those last few fights in his career, you know, them big sort of staple names, because really there's like, what I would like to see is like a Daniel Jacobs, which is a winnable fight, and then looking at Canelo, Golovkin, Callum Smith. So, I mean, I think that's the route. And if he won a couple of them, then he would go down as like a British great. Like, do you know what I mean? And I feel like he needs to be on that platform. He needs to be over on the other side to get that. And I think everyone sort of understands that. So it's not like a big shock that maybe it perhaps should have been, because think of how many like bumps and starts that his career's had due to people avoiding him. He had little mishaps, obviously. He had the getting stripped from the WBO, which didn't help. But yeah, it is what it is. I don't think it affects me too much. I've never boxed on one of his shows, so it don't really affect me.
But you are headlining, as you say, your second TV show. Talk to me about the rest of the card. Some really, really good fights on that card. I think the latest of which just been announced with Umar Sadiq. Talk to me about the rest of that card.
Yeah, I think it's a great card, exhibitioning a lot of London and domestic talent. I didn't find out I was headlining until it got announced, to be honest. I believed maybe Lucian Reed, Brad Foster maybe should have been headlining. Zach Chelly versus Cody Davies, if they was a bit further in their career, I probably think that would have been that is a great fight. A fight I'm very surprised that's happened, but a fight I'm very glad that that's happened. And all I know is it's a domestic card. Obviously it's BT, York Hall, 1,100-1,200 people, whatever they can fit in York Hall. And I'm not a huge ticket seller. I mean, I sell tickets from Sheffield to most people in London, so I'm not running around constantly like fishing for tickets. But like I said, I do my best, but I don't need to. But I've not been able to get as much tickets as I've wanted. I'd sold double my allocation of ringsides in the first day, and then told that I had to, you know what I mean, move half of the people because they did not have any tickets left. The show's selling very well, and I think it will be absolutely packed to the rafters, York Hall. Live on TV, I think it will look brilliant. And like also Dex Spellman comes to have a proper war. Obviously, he had that tragic war with Scott Westgarth up here in Yorkshire. And Shakan Pitters obviously won the Ultimate Boxer, which is proven to be a great platform as well as on BT Sport. So a great card. And Umar Sadiq, Luke Blackledge. It's like a crossroads fight for Umar. If he's really going to get taken seriously, you know what I mean, after losing to Chelly, he's got to win well. Blackledge is, you'd imagine, on the slide. Yeah, and you've also got a great undercard, like you've got Harvey Horn, obviously, who's on there, who's building his rankings up and getting his rounds in. GB fighters. You've got CK, I can't even pronounce his name. Black Thunder. And you've got Jamie Branch. Am I right thinking that? Is he not on that? Oh. Well, you got Chris Bork. I know. Do you know what I mean? You got a few good level fighters that are all coming through, and I think this is like the start of the resurgence of sort of Frank Warren's like small hall shows to get like now he's got a few like they're not arena fighters. Like I'm not really an arena headline. Obviously, I'm not an arena headline fighter. But for me to headline a York Hall live on BT, it's great for my platform, great for my profile, great for exposure, and it shows the belief that BT have got in me. They're really backing me. They're really like pushing me in the right direction because I think they believe I can go all the way. and clearly my promoter as well, my management team. Everything's going good for me, do you know what I mean? But like I said, it's a great card. I don't think there's been too many people angry at the card. Tickets aren't expensive, 40, 50 and £60. Which, seeing as how the ringside sold out, they probably made them a bit more expensive, to be honest. But yeah, it's a card that I think anyone that knows their boxing is pleased with, because there's some really good fights on there. Obviously, it's a domestic card with all domestic fights. Obviously, I'm headlining with a Mexican opponent, but people are just going to see me showcasing what I do and have been doing against another step up, another tough Mexican, another opponent that comes for 10 rounds, doesn't stop, can punch. He's got 16 wins, 8 knockouts. I've seen him fight. He can have a war, he can have a scrap, he ain't going to stop. So I'm expecting a hard fight, just like my last fight. Just because sometimes, at times, I make them look easy, it doesn't mean they are. But for no stretch of imagination, I've got to be switched on, I've got to be moving, I've got to be, you know what I mean, avoiding big shots, landing, scoring, hitting them hard enough so they respect me, do you know what I mean? But another challenge that I'm relishing, hopefully another belt to add to the collection, all the belts.
Now, on the same night, there's another show in Las Vegas that some of us will be at, unfortunately. Tyson Fury versus Otto Wallin. Talk to me about that fight.
If I'm perfectly honest, I've never seen Otto Wallin. But look, Tyson Fury is keeping busy. Same way that I'm keeping busy, because if these fights aren't getting made in a time frame, I'm getting a fight date and I'm getting an opponent. I'm not, oh, we'll see if we can make a fight, get 3 weeks out of a fight and then get a fight. I want a whole camp, I want to prepare, do you know what I mean, for what I've got in front of me. Because I've got to the point where now I can demand that, do you know what I mean? 7, 8 weeks, I need my opponent. If I haven't got that, I'm not fighting on that day, do you know what I mean? That's why I didn't fight on the June 15th, Warren and Galahad. Because they offered that fight 3 days after my last fight. But I didn't have an opponent by the weekend, so my management said, no, he's not fighting on it. You're not dangling, like, leaving him in sort of limbo. And then we got on the Bar Gorman. But yeah, I don't know about Fury and Wallin. I've not seen Otto Wallin box. Don't know his record. But what's good for me is a lot of people that are going to have like an evening watching the boxing will tune into my card and stay up and watch Tyson Fury. Do you know what I mean? He's a big draw. It's all on BT, so I guess that's why they've put my date on the same date as his. It makes sense. And it's just another stepping stone. I've seen that he wants to fight in the UK by the end of the year. He said that his contract allows him to do that. So maybe I'll be on that card. Do you know what I mean?
Another show that's on BT, and we're actually very, very, very close to it. It seems to have flown around very quickly. Anthony Yarde versus Sergey Kovalev in Russia. A lot of talk about that fight since it would, well, been rumoured really, particularly since it's been announced. What do you make of that fight? I mean, people generally saying Anthony Yarde is an underdog, but a very live underdog. Do you see it that way?
I'm going to keep it real. I'd be very shocked if I saw Yarde pull it off, just because of the level he's mixed at compared to Kovalev, do you know what I mean? I don't think I'm out of order in saying that. I don't think it's really against the grain either. I think a lot of British people get behind British people and start becoming a bit unrealistic with expectations. Like, you can't compare Anthony Yarde absolutely icing all these fighters so far and then be like, oh, well, he can do it against Kovalev. Of course he can, but I'm just saying, I still think Kovalev's got a lot to give. I think he proved that in his comeback from a loss and then his last performance. He showed that he's still got a lot of fire left in the tank. But I would like to see him do it, because it would be massive for British BT boxing. It would be great for me, you know what I mean? And it's not because I don't like him. I like his energy. I think he's a very likeable person. Very, very marketable. So there's not too much not like about him. I like that Tunde's so out there and so wild. Like, I find it funny. Do you know what I mean? I think a lot of what he does is tongue in cheek, maybe a bit sometimes borderline delusion. But if in this sport you're not at least borderline delusional, then you're in the wrong sport. Do you know what I mean? You've got to believe in yourself and your team and your setup over anything. So I appreciate the angle that they're coming from. I'm not mad at it. He's securing the bag. You know what I mean? Getting paid very well. Going over to Russia. if he comes up short, he's lost to a world champion, a multiple times world champion, and a big name in the world of boxing, not just in Russia, not just to UK fans. He's a massive name globally, really. Like, he's a Russian that's been fighting over in America, and like, do you know what I mean? He's a huge name. But like I said, I'd like to see him do it. I wouldn't lean towards him. I think Kovalev's a great fighter. His fights with even Ward shown that, and Ward is, for me, like an all-time great. I feel like he still had more to give, but come out when he wanted to come out. And as soon as you don't want to box no more, for whatever reason, you want to keep your faculties intact, you feel like you've done everything, then boxing's too hard to, you know, force it. It's way too hard. As soon as your subconscious doesn't want to be in that ring, for whatever reason, it could be family, it could be money, you don't need the money anymore, you've achieved everything you wanted to achieve, it's too hard of a sport. You go to do the whole camp and you get caught with a shot, and you need to get out when you want to get out, and so I'm not angry at it, but I still think he had a lot to give, and Kovalev still had good fights with him. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't know. Maybe I'm fearing the worst. Maybe I'm underwhelmed by the level of opponent that Yarde has fought to get here, but he's got here, and he's taken the fight, so no one can take it away from him now. I would have been one of the first that would have said that I want to see Yarde in proper fights, in domestic fights. There was fights that you thought should have happened, didn't happen, could have happened, didn't happen. So, but now he's turned it on its head, and he's fighting someone that's recognised as in this generation as one of the top fighters. Do you know what I mean? He's been at the top for a while now. So yeah, all props to him, and I hope he does the business, because it'll be great for British boxing.
Big news in boxing in the last week or so is Anthony Joshua's rematch with Andy Ruiz heading to Saudi Arabia. Not a place that I've been to. Don't know if you've been to Saudi Arabia, but just your thoughts on that announcement.
So something that was expected when the bookies went from like it was going to happen in Cardiff to 1 and 5 in Saudi Arabia. So I suppose it was expected. I don't know, it's a weird one because they're announcing it and starting to like build the fight, and Andy Ruiz keeps saying that he's not going there. So it's a bit of a weird one. Maybe he's calling his bluff, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if he does go. But I don't know. Like, I love AJ, man. He's a good friend of mine. He's always had a lot of time for me. He's had me around him. I mean, I've trained with him as an amateur and as a pro. So he's just a great face for British boxing and such a likeable person. So just on that alone, I'd want him to do the business. Just on his person. Will he do it? I don't know. I guess my guess is as good as any's. I feel like things probably must have went wrong in his last fight. Only he knows them. I've not spoke to him about it. I doubt he would divulge to me too much anyway, if anything was amiss. But yeah, I feel like AJ, you get the best out of him when you've got someone similar height, big stand-up fighter, and it's sort of just firing. I think he's always struggled with the people that looks-wise he should just be ironing out. I mean, this is not me breaking or leaking any like information that's not really public, but you could see videos of when he got stopped as an amateur. It was usually against like short, fat Romanians or Azerbaijanis or whatever it happened to be. So I don't know, maybe there's something in his head. Maybe when he gets in there, he thinks, oh, I should be ironing this fat bastard out. Do you know what I mean? And then when it doesn't, things just fall apart. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just reaching down. Do you know what I mean? Some people just find different things awkward. Do you know what I mean? But he hurt Ruiz. He put him down and then he got caught. Similar thing happened when he fought Dillian Whyte and was on the rocks for a couple of rounds. But with Dillian Whyte, he came through it and beat him. With Ruiz, he didn't. So who knows? You might go out there, you might iron him out in the first round. It's heavyweight boxing, isn't it? Ruiz was, looks-wise, he was based on his looks-wise as to why he was such a massive underdog. But if you see like interviews with like people like Freddie Roach and that leading up to that fight, I think didn't you tell me that he was saying that like if people underestimate him, they're foolish, and clearly he was bang on. He was like, he can hit very hard, he's got very fast hands, and when he smells blood, he just goes. You know what I mean? And he clearly had a lot better conditioning than he looked, because he was still throwing like 7-punch combinations in that 7th round, like crazy. But looks don't make a fighter. Appearance doesn't make a fighter. Heart, determination. And I don't know. I don't think AJ needs boxing anymore. And maybe that's the best thing, but also the worst thing that can happen to you. I would love to get to a stage where I don't need to get up and go for a run at 7 o'clock in the morning no more. Because I can just stay in bed and just be Sonny Edwards and be rich off that. Like, once you get to that point where you don't need boxing no more, it's time to get out. Look at Andre Ward, we were talking about a minute ago. I know I've had fights that have been hard, and there's been tough things in the fights. Obviously, when I got injured, when I got put down. If I was a multi-millionaire, I probably would have went, oh, come on, Grant, let's sack this off. I sat down after the second round, oh, my leg's gone now. I would just call it, yeah, my leg's gone. And no one would have been angry at it. I would have went to got it scanned, and, oh, he's ruptured 2 ligaments, fair enough, why he stopped boxing. But when you're worth like 300 mil and you've been put down twice and you think, what am I even doing here? I don't know how I would think, because I'm not in that position, but that's probably how I'd think. Like, what am I still doing here? Do you know what I mean? Anthony Joshua will be nice for the rest of his life. Just being Anthony Joshua, he'll be nice for the rest of his life. Look at Mike Tyson when he went absolutely broke, however many times, or whatever happened to him. And just being Mike Tyson, he's going to have a comfortable life. Doing an evening with Mike Tyson for 30 grand or whatever he'll get. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know how much AJ needs boxing now. He's done it all apart from get every belt, unify all of the belts. You know what I mean? Apart from being undisputed, he's done everything else. So, won Olympic gold, multi-world champion. He's still got a lot to give with his ability, but it's just whether he needs to. Like, I know it's cliche, but you could get in the ring and it could be your last time. I think how many times we've heard that in the last 12, 18 months, 2 years, 4 years. Like, it's something that is a very much present danger, and when you're worth however much he's worth, do you need to keep risking it? Not me for me to say, I'm not advising him, do you know what I mean? I just don't know, I've got a little one. So when it gets to the point of whether do I need to be here or not, I don't know. But that's just me from the outside looking in. I have no idea.
You say you're not advising him. I did see something. Didn't you say that you're going to be you're going to be trying to get a manager's license this year?
Yeah, just probably to hold it there for a bit. Like, I'm in no massive rush to. I'm not trying to go, oh, next year I want to pick up fighters and start da-da-da-da-da. But what I would like to do is earlier, sooner rather than later, I've been applying for my trainer's license at the moment. Not to train fighters, but to help Grant out in the corners. So, get my trainers, get my managers, and maybe, who knows, in the back end of my career, maybe over the next couple of years, someone might approach me, oh, do you want to do a little bit with me? Just something to deepen my stature in the sport. If any fighters that are in this gym come out of management and sort of want to be sort of like kind of self-managed, but as well sort of having guidance, having like a connection to somewhere. And I mean, I've got a good relationship with obviously Frank Warren. Even got a good relationship with Eddie Hearn and Matchroom. MTK sort of taken over the whole world. So who knows? It's something I've always wanted to do after my boxing career is over, and you never know when that is. Touch wood, it's not, but this could be my last fight. It could be, I might have made it. You just don't know what happened. You never know what's going to happen. So it's just something I've always been interested in. Something I feel like I'd be good at as well. I feel like I read the game quite well. I, more time than not, know what's a good fight for someone, what's a bad fight for someone. I'm very realistic. I've been through seeing what people get paid at certain levels, taking risks to reap the rewards, and I love boxing. Do you know what I mean? I feel no matter what, somehow I'll be involved in some sort of capacity. And yeah, I think I've been a pro for 3 years in September. So then you can apply for your manager's license. I'm not going to self-manage myself or anything like that. That's not where I was going with that. MTK have done a great job with me, and maybe in an ideal world I'll have some sort of role in MTK to some degree at the end of my career. I would like that. Do you know what I mean? They've been very good to me. I've got a very good relationship with my managers and the whole team. So I've been there since it was, MGM, one of the originals as they call us, before it sort of blew up to be as big as it is. I was involved with them even when I was an amateur, because obviously Charlie was one of their earlier fighters. Yeah, just something I'd be interested in doing, even if I just picked up a few journeymen or something, and getting my phone calls, is he available, and all of that, sorting it out. I think it's something I could easily do.
Well, we look forward to that. Before we come on to Charlie, your brother, obviously, let's talk about the World Boxing Super Series. We've spoken about it in the past. It's now been officially announced, November the 7th in Japan. Yeah. Inoue versus Nonito Donaire. Has your thoughts changed on that fight at all? I know the last time I spoke to you, you were pretty heavily weighted in Inoue's favour, as I think most people are at this point. Anything changed your mind?
Nothing too big. Well, no, nothing's changed. I think since we last spoke, it was before my last fight, wasn't it? Yeah, and Naoya Inoue, I've said earlier that he, for me, is pound for pound best fighter at the moment. Nonito Donaire clearly on the slide, but clearly can still fight. I think he showed that before Burnett got injured. So yeah, I think Naoya Inoue will win. I think the heavy favourite, but I think it'll be a good fight. I think it'll be a bit of a firefight as well. I think Donaire will use his ring savviness for the first few rounds and then start letting his hands go, when I think he thinks Naoya Inoue will probably slow down a bit. I don't know. But yeah, obviously I favour Inoue, but a fight I'm very excited for nonetheless.
We have just mentioned him, your brother, the WBC flyweight champion of the world. First of all, what did he say when you said that you were going to move down in weight to flyweight and start looking at world titles?
He said he's moving up weight. Nah, it's always been the plan though. Like, I don't know, I thought it was always quite obvious that that was the plan, that I was only fighting at super flyweight for opportunities and whatnot. It's always been the plan, but after my last fight, he was very physically strong, the kid, I thought. And even though I kind of made it look easy at times, physically, I couldn't really keep him off me too much. And I had to sort of go, not amateur hour, but I went really boxing and moving and just sort of slipping and throwing singles and tying him up. So I realised then, I spoke to my management literally as soon as I got out of the ring, I was like, I want to go down to flyweight now. Because all it takes is someone to actually be of a surprisingly better level than they seem that they're going to be at, and be that much stronger, and then it's a big problem. And then all of a sudden, something happens, like you lose or get chinned, and it's a big block in your career. So I'd rather get down to flyweight and sort of minimise that as much as possible. But then again, the flyweights are still very strong, still very fit, and a lot of the fighters at super flyweight can make flyweight. Do you know what I mean? So it's maybe not that much of a difference, but it will just get me more disciplined, more on my weight, and more ready to fight.
What can you tell us about Charlie's opponent? He's boxing Julio Cesar Martinez. Is that his name? Martinez? Yeah. So when you say Julio Cesar, it's tempting just to throw the Chavez on the end all the time. Obviously, the last time we saw him in the ring, the final eliminator, he stopped Andrew Selby, who we were talking about earlier on. Dangerous fight. Anybody, I think, regardless of the supposed issues that Andrew Selby may or may not have been having out of the ring, if you knock out Andrew Selby, you can clearly fight. Is that a tough ask for Charlie?
Of course it is. These Mexicans are no joke. They're just very, very hard men. You hit them clean, hit them big, and they just take a forward step. It's all they know what to do. And with British fighters, don't normally get that. And it looks like he can punch a lot. I like him similar to Granados, who I thought similar style. Like if you can't hit your head, he just throw winging and body shots. He don't mind taking a shot, and he just sort of. He'll switch between southpaw and orthodox, walking forward, just trying to get to you. He's just trying to take your chin off. Selby was boxing well first 3 rounds, but I think he just capitulated a little bit and got caught with a body shot, visibly hurt, and then got caught with another one, and I think he just thought, I can't do this for another 7 rounds, and he just sort of swallowed it a bit. Charlie's got to be on form to beat him, but I wouldn't be surprised if Charlie 120, 108'd him, and just was that bit sharper, that bit more cuter every round. Because it looked that way for the first couple of rounds of Selby. And then obviously, I feel like Charlie's just a lot more switched on, a lot more disciplined, a lot more mentally stronger and in a place to take these fights as a world champion, not going to Mexico, fighting in on like 5 days before your fight. Do you know what I mean? It's like, he's just in a much better place to take a fight like this. And Charlie's very fit. I'm not saying Andrew Selby's not, but he started slowing down straight away very quickly. Altitude was probably an issue, heat, temperature, diet of the last few days, probably a lot of things. But Charlie's in a great place, mentally, promotionally, clearly with his boxing. So he's in a great place, and I think the best charge will get in there. And I think as long as Charlie don't get caught with a silly daft shot, then he'll be alright. But at the same time, for every minute of that 36 minutes, that big dangerous daft shot is a danger. So 36 minutes of good boxing, he'll win quite easy, I think. But that could change at any moment from the first bell to the last.
That's, of course, going to be on the undercard of Vasyl Lomachenko versus Luke Campbell. Seeing as I've got you here, I might as well ask for your opinion on that fight. Vasyl Lomachenko, a lot of people, not you, evidently, because you just said Naoya Inoue, consider him to be the pound-for-pound #1 fighter in the world. Do you give Luke Campbell much of a chance of the upset in that fight?
I would like to, but with all a clear conscience, I couldn't. You know what I mean? I think Lomachenko is a once-in-a-generation type fighter. The balance, the way he turns angles, his split-second reactions, it's insane. His balance, it's just everything about him. He's just a great fighter. And with Lomachenko, he's made very, very good fighters look very novice-y. But then I think Luke Campbell is something different because it's a very standoff, tall, rangy, a lot taller than him, a lot more rangy boxer. And Lomachenko has not been icing these people. He's sort of been breaking their soul and sort of schooling them into submission. And maybe Campbell will have that bit better footwork than some of the fighters he's had, because a lot of people have been trying to meet him head on. They're like, is it like Cesar and Walters? They were just trying to meet him head on, and you can't do that because he will just tie you up in knots and make you look absolutely silly. And then once you don't want to be in there, you don't want to be in there.
Okay, well, Sonny Edwards, always a pleasure sitting down with you. Thanks very much for having me up to sunny Sheffield. Look forward to seeing you. I'll be watching, but I'll be watching on the TV in the press room. But yeah, all the best between now and your fight. Thanks very much for speaking to Boxing Social.
No, yeah, thanks for coming up.